Right, so morning, this lovely spring morning, we're going to be planting out these lupin plants. Now this is a variety called Pixie Delight. It's a dwarf variety, so it's not going to grow as tall as your average lupin. So putting them into this raised bed, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to plant them quite close together really. If I was planting them out into a flower board, I'd probably space them out a little bit more, but because we've got them in a raised bed, we know the soil's good, we're going to water them and feed them. They should be fine in here. And for this particular variety, it's better if you put a lot together because it gives you a much better show. So the soil in the bed is peat-free compost with well rotted down garden compost as well, and a bit of just topsoil, just to retain the moisture for the plants themselves. The lupins have a deep taproot, so they will find their way down into the bed to find the moisture anyway. What I'm going to do is any sort of dead leaves or damaged leaves I'm just going to remove. If they're dying off anyway, they'll not come back and they just look unsightly. So I'm going to plant them at the same depth that they are in the pot, so they don't need to go any deeper than that. So if you want to just make sure how deep you're putting them, just pop your pot into the hole you've dug. As you plant hundreds of plants as you go along through your gardening life, you tend to get an eye for how deep the hole needs to be anyway. So I just dug that and it's about perfect. Don't always work out that way, but as a rule of thumb, just pop your pot in there. So that's gone in. And all I'm going to do now is just firm the plant in. It doesn't need to be firmed in really heavily. Just pop it down like that and then just put your soil back and that's in. So I'm going to put the marker in so we know what we've got in the bed. If the roots are starting to curl round, just loosen them a bit, just so that the ends of the roots are starting to show and move away from the actual shape of the pot it's been in. So if you break them, don't worry too much. It's not always a bad thing because what happens is they'll regenerate and you'll get more leaf. So I'm just going to pop that into the hole. Exactly the same depth as it was in the pot. Again, just a little firm in, tidy your soil up, and then we'll carry on. So, as I say, I'm putting these reasonably close together. And now these leaves are starting to turn yellow. It's unlikely that they'll come back, but they're not too unsightly at the minute, so I'm going to leave those on. If they were brown and distorted, I'd take them off.
Does it help leaving them on?
If you're going to take a leaf off, let me see if I can find one. Like that one there, see that one's damaged.
Okay. Yeah.
That's not going to recover that. So rather than pull it upwards or downwards, just gently holding the stem just to twist it sideways and it should work its way off. And then you're not going to tear it. So it's important not to tear it because that will let in diseases. So that leaf's gone now, just chuck that away. Yeah, if they're not ready for coming off, that one came off quite easily. If they're not ready for coming off, it means, you know, that they're not really dying off, so you can leave it on. I wouldn't force it off, but if it comes off easily like that, it's ready. It's not going to regenerate itself. Try not to disturb the roots if you can. They don't like having the roots disturbed. That's why I put them in a deep container, deep pot. And these have been watered this morning as well, because in preparation for planting them out. They come out the pot easier, but also it helps the plant itself. It's not going to be such a shock going into the ground. And I will water them in the bed as well, just to settle them in. By settling them in, what I mean is it gets the soil to settle around the roots of the plant and it anchors it. So you've not got any air pockets. They do need air to survive, but not air pockets. They need the roots to be in contact with the soil to pick up the nutrients. And another sign when they're ready for going out is if the leaves start to yellow. It's a sign that there's not enough nutrient in the pot, in the soil that they're in. Yeah, these have been hardened off, so they've been outside through the day for the last week now. We've had a bit of cooler weather, a bit of sun, so they've had a bit of all sorts. I left them out overnight for the last 2 nights. It's only been down to sort of 8-9 degrees, which is not going to harm them, but it's just cooler, so it toughens them up. Get some used to being outside at night.
It's exactly the same way any variety as well.
Yeah, it's always better to, especially your tender plants, you know, like your most of your bedding plants, marigolds, that sort of thing. I know you sometimes buy them from garden centres and people pop them straight into the garden. If they've been in a garden centre under a cover, they've not hardened off. So you're still better, rather than buying them, putting them straight outside into the beds, hardening them off. So by that I mean put your tray in a place outside during the day, take them into your greenhouse or inside, wherever you keep them, through the night. Do that for about a week, and then they should be toughened up to daytime temperatures. And just check for a frost. I've checked, there's no frost forecast for another fortnight, so really we should be safe here after that, sort of getting towards the end of May. The further north you go, you can get a frost later in the year, but just keep checking the weather forecast. And if there's going to be a particular cold night, you might want to cover some of your bedding plants up. You can just cover them with newspaper. You can pop a plant pot over them. It's just to keep the moisture off them, and that's what freezes and kills your plants. So it's just a matter of keep an eye on the weather and protecting your plants if there's going to be a frost. If you feed them with Seafeed, that'll green them up. It'll help the root system as well. If you're giving them nitrogen and phosphorus, that's going to encourage root and leaf. But you need to change your feed slightly for the flowering. The other thing to remember about lupins as well, if you let them flower and then set seed, they'll stop flowering. So once the flower is fading and dying, pinch out the flower, cut the flower off, and then they should flower again. So they'll repeat flowers, but you have to take the seed heads off, otherwise they will stop. They look like a small pea, and they tend to go brown. And once they've gone brown, they're virtually ripe. And as they pop open, they sort of twist, and then they throw the seeds. So you can hear the seeds being thrown about here and landing. And they will sell seed. But if you want them to keep flowering through your summer, just keep snipping off the flower heads once they've finished, and then they should regenerate. You see, you'll get side shoots come. You've got 2 shoots on that one with the flowers coming on, and then as you can see underneath, just there, that's a side shoot. So once that has finished flowering, if you cut that off with some clean secateurs, that side shoot should develop, and then that will give you another flower. So the more you keep deadheading them, the more they should flower, and then they should flower really these from about June right through to September, to frosts.